I've never seen it hit anybody quite as hard as it hit me, but I was transformed in a moment from a Marxist, skeptic, scientist. It was then, and I will say it still is now, it is pure 100% magic. It's magic. It's not a drug. It's an event. It's not something that you do. It's something which happens to you. And people come out of it saying, what happened? What happened?
What did happen?
What a guy.
I know, right? Terence McKenna talking about DMT.
Yeah, why is he not celebrated more?
Yeah, you ask, it's a good question, that. I think I sense that the likes of Terence McKenna and Alan Watts are having a renaissance. I don't know if you've noticed on Spotify and the likes, but there are a lot of playlists coming out with just seminars and lectures by the two.
Yeah, I think generally over the last 5 years as well. I think 5 years I've definitely noticed an uprising in this type of narrative, definitely.
And we've been in that uprising, haven't we, Richard?
And what a beautiful uprising it's been, Martin.
So welcome to How to Die Happy.
Very happy to be here.
I'm very happy to have you here. So for the folks at home, Rich is, I would say, my brother from another mother. And we met when I first moved to Bali, didn't we?
Through Johnny White Oak.
Through Johnny White Oak, he introduced us.
Shout out Johnny White Oak.
Hello, White Oak. Hope you're well, and your family and your lovely new baby, or relatively new baby. And shortly after meeting, we went on an incredible experience, didn't we? An incredible journey together.
I just think it was one of those situations where there was a beautiful bit of all the S's, synchronicity, serendipity, just all sort of came together, didn't it?
It certainly did. And we're going to talk about that because it was together our first ayahuasca journey. But I suppose we should take a step back because I was quite keen in this Chinwag to talk about ayahuasca, but also to talk about our experience of it, but also to give people some information about ayahuasca, I think, and DMT. So, because DMT stands for dimethyltryptamine, and it's only 2 steps in synthetic terms from tryptophan, which is an amino acid that's in all organisms, right? So all organisms already contain 2 key enzymes that produce DMT, us included. And it's been remarked that that DMT, therefore, is like a messenger molecule, which I love that expression, because it connects all organisms. It's a common molecular language in that regard. And, of course, an incredible utility to explore human consciousness and our profound connection to nature and one another. Said it in one sentence, but actually that's it's quite a profound gift.
I think we've touched on this previously, haven't we? It's, I think we came to the conclusion it's a backdoor key. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a backdoor key into a higher state of consciousness. Yeah. I think I once said it was. I think I said if meditation is a key,
yoga.
And yoga is a key. Ayahuasca is a laser cut, one of those laser cut Swiss keys. And it's also a close relative to psilocybin, the compound found in so-called magic mushrooms. So DMT is in everything, or in many, many plants rather, and many organisms. And in the year 2000, a chap called Rick Strassman, a psychiatrist, wrote a book called DMT, The Spirit Molecule. Of course, you and I think, both watched the documentary, didn't we?
Yeah, I've heard of the book. I suppose I came around to it through Graham Hancock. And then I started this beautiful rabbit hole of a journey through Graham Hancock, then on to Joe Rogan, Spirit Molecule, DMT, and then to infinity and beyond, mate.
Well, Joe Rogan, for those of you that don't know, he narrated the documentary, which is called DMT, the Spirit Molecule. And so the book was was published in 2000, and the subheader for that is a doctor's revolutionary research into the biology of near-death and mystical experiences. Important to point out, he's a doctor and he's a psychiatrist. And then in 2010, they made the documentary that Joe Rogan narrated, which was an epic piece of documentary filmmaking, certainly from my perspective. And because when I decided I was going to do ayahuasca with you and a few other people in an undisclosed North African country, I did an awful lot of research. And of course, the internet is good and bad for that. And I'm sure, I think you and I kept toing and froing, didn't we? We were talking about our apprehension.
Yeah, at the time it was pretty scary, actually.
Well, look, because there are some pretty horrible or horrific pieces of content out there that paint plant medicine in a bad light. And of course there are, because there are
good and bad everywhere, right?
Yeah, and there are there are infinite truths. But it's important for me to point out, probably, as we talk about this, the thing about psychedelics and where they're so commonly misunderstood is most of the time when people tell these stories of a terrible trip, as people refer to it, more often than not, there are lots of mitigating factors, aren't there?
Totally.
Such as they've...
alcohol.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got alcohol in their system. Yeah. They've got cocaine in their system, because, of course, a lot of people are doing this in South and Central America, where cocaine is incredibly cheap and exceptional quality. Smoking,
not giving it the respect. You got to fast. You've got to cleanse. You've got to sort of prepare yourself mentally.
Yep.
And physically beforehand, right?
Exactly. Get your body and your mind right.
Absolutely.
And so there's a long list of things that one should never do in advance of an ayahuasca ceremony, and it's eating meat, it's sugar, chili, spice,
oil.
What else? Fish.
All the good stuff.
Coffee. Can't do that. Drugs. And pharmaceuticals as well. That's an important thing, because all of these things are changing our physiology, and what the plant does, what the ayahuasca medicine does is really reaches into the nooks and crannies of our physiology, doesn't it?
Interesting you say that. That's as soon as you said that, I remember it kind of coursing through my veins and into each cell. So
yeah,
just a bit of a flashback.
Yeah, I do as well, and many more things. But then, of course, there are many more things I've forgotten. So I think what Rick Strassman did, and a number of other leading authorities, certainly in the research that I did in advance of my first ayahuasca journey, they helped to bridge the gap between science and spirituality. Strassman did a trial, didn't he? So he did a trial with a number of subjects, where people were provided with DMT, and then they in a clinical and safe clinical environment, where they were then invited to recount what happened to them. And you've really got to read the book or watch the documentary to hear the stories, but they are nothing short of, as Terence McKenna says, magical. And that's kind of what happened to us. So before we talk about what happened to us, a couple of other things to point out about DMT. Well, it's also present in the human body, so it resides in our pineal gland, also referred to as the third eye. It resides in our lungs. So when we're chanting or doing breath work or meditation or yoga, we can create a semi-transcendental experience or a full-on transcendental experience, because we're releasing the DMT or activating the DMT in us, right?
Totally.
Ultimately provides a mystical union.
Get high on your own supply. As Wim Hof would say.
Is that what he says?
Yeah, that's his strapline, yeah. That he's probably making billions from, but yeah.
I like, is it Vim or Wim? I'm never sure.
Wim.
Wim Hof.
Tomatoes, but yeah.
Yeah, Wim Hof.
What a dude.
Well, he's not wrong though, is he? Because I think And of course, we both did breath work together, possibly for the first time as well, didn't we?
Yeah, and I think I've had some breathwork sessions that have been as powerful as plant medicine journeys.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and quite often transcendental,
Exactly.
popping out of your body.
Proves you can do it naturally as well.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people that argue that because you can do it naturally, why would you use plant medicine? What do you think about that?
I think it's a shortcut. Yeah, I think it's an intro into finding sort of the essence of yourself, and I think you sort of go through your life, you know, where you're living in your ego, and you get to a point where I think for me, sort of, I kind of had an awakening in my early 20s, but it scared the shit out of me, to be honest. So I suppressed it and thought, right, I'll deal with that when I'm older. So then it comes to 40 years old and you're having all like
midlife crisis,
like what is this all about? You know, I'm floating on a bit of rock traveling through the universe at 70,000 miles, and all people are bothered about is fucking Kim Kardashian, and it affected me. So I sort of went deep in myself. And yeah, I think for me personally, it was like we've talked about this before, but there's the 90s film Jumanji. And it's like the game. It's like it makes a drum like a boom, boom. It's the game calling you to it. And I felt like this urge. There was something in my essence calling me to it. And it just, you know, then you pick a thread, and then Joe Rogan, Graham Hancock, and you got all these beautiful synchronistic moments. And then obviously meeting you and your brother, and we just had that chat together, and we're just, we're actually flying and going to a retreat in 2 weeks' time to do it. And I'm like, well, you're welcome to join if you want.
I remember the look on your face.
Yeah, it was just, I think we'd known each other probably about 4 hours.
Yeah, but it felt like we'd known each other for a long time, didn't it?
No, I think the beauty, obviously, we had a good friend that obviously paired us, so I think he obviously knew we'd get on. We come from the same background in a Northern English sort of village, so lots of common denominators, but yeah, that journey, man, it's just an amazing one, right?
Yeah, well, let's talk about it. So we all arrived in this North African country. We met in a city first, didn't we? And then I think, did we have a night? We had a night in the city, day and night in the city.
It's really difficult to describe it without giving it away, but
well, we should probably not discuss it because it's not psychedelics are not legal in that country. However, we eventually wound up at this incredible hotel in the mountains.
Bond Villa.
Yeah, it was.
Bond Villain Villa.
It was, wasn't it? And we sort of, I think there were 4 or 5 of us, wasn't there? Weren't there even? And we all settled down to 2 days and nights of ayahuasca, followed by washuma, which is, so ayahuasca, as we've discussed, is DMT, but just to be specific, ayahuasca tea is a brew made of 2 ingredients. So it's made of the ayahuasca vine bark and the chacruna leaf. The reason why it's made of 2 is because actually the human body naturally rapidly breaks DMT down using an enzyme called, what's it called? Monoamine oxidase. Yeah. MAO, it's called. However, because the ayahuasca tea contains the chacruna leaf is a natural MAO enzyme inhibitor, right? So, of course, that switches off the body's ability to switch off the effects of DMT.
Yeah.
Which essentially means
neutralizes the inhibitor, which is just pretty amazing when you think about it, right?
Isn't it? and just as an aside, that chemistry, that understanding of chemistry, obviously comes from the Amazon and has been around for thousands of years. And when I went to the Amazon, which we'll talk about in a little while, I spoke to one of the most beautiful people on the planet, a chap called Page Penno, who is a shaman from the Noke Kuin tribe. And he tells the story of how many years ago, one of the shaman in the village, one of the healers in the village, was visited in a dream by a snake, and the snake led him into the jungle, and he followed the snake, and the snake curled itself around an ayahuasca vine, essentially, and a voice came to his head, "You need this," and then curled itself around a chacruna bush.
Wow.
"You need this."
Just got big goosebumps when you're saying that.
Well, I mean,
Believe it.
it's pretty epic, isn't it? It's quite an amazing story. So this guy comes out of the jungle with a handful of ayahuasca vine, a handful of chacruna leaves, a message from a snake in his dream, and he makes ayahuasca.
Beautiful.
How on earth would a very, very ancient and very primitive Brazilian tribe know to mix those two plants?
I just think it's amazing where you've got different native tribes all around the world, and they've all followed the same rules, the same beliefs. It's basically they see it as like a portal, a death portal, don't they?
Yeah.
And it connects. Everything's based around the constellation of Orion. We head to Orion, and then we go on to the Milky Way, and on the Milky Way, that's where we sort of challenge our life that we've just had.
Yeah.
We're ready for to where we go next.
And as you say, you've got these indigenous tribes from all over the world, different
following the same story,
doing the same things, with no internet.
With no connection with each other as well.
No air travel, not even the ability to do big sailing trips, I don't think. Anyway, let's not get lost in that conversation too much. But the point being that the chemistry was there a long, long time ago. So we're in this North African country, and we were going to do
James Bond Villa,
and we were going to do ayahuasca, which is the tea I've just explained, and following the following morning we were going to do San Pedro or Wachuma, which is a cactus, isn't it?
Oh, my favourite.
Yeah, I think it's my favourite too. It's an incredible kind of DMT experience, and completely different to ayahuasca, because ayahuasca is known as the mother, the grandmother, and Wachuma is known as the grandfather. The idea being that what happens from an experiential perspective with ayahuasca is you get I think it's safe to say we all get a giant cuddle, right?
Yeah.
I personally was fetal for a lot of my first experience.
Yeah.
And you're getting just so much love and healing energy. It's impossible to put into words, but we'll talk about it. On the flip side, the Wachuma is a very masculine plant. So you are re-energized by this plant, and of course you have very similar psychedelic experiences. So how was your first ayahuasca experience?
It was... where do you start, honestly? I think for me, there was a lot of apprehension, because I was just... everything about my mind was saying, do not do this. But my intuition was just like, leading me to this path. So I think there was 5 of us there. I think the other 3 guys, they'd practiced before.
Yes, all of them had.
They're quite evolved as well.
Yeah,
because you were having some pretty deep chats, and I was thinking, whoa, I'm a little bit out of my depth here.
These guys are sort of Jedis.
Yeah, like exactly.
Yeah,
nicely put. So yeah, I think initially, the good thing about it is you've got to take it seriously, and you got to prepare. I can remember I fasted, prepared my mind,
and we
meditated
for 4 weeks.
Yeah, and I don't think we ate the day before, did we?
No.
And like you said, that obviously prepares your body, so then the medicine can just go into every sort of nook and cranny of your body and do the work. So I think for me, I remember initially I was thinking, nothing's happening. And then after sort of 20 minutes, and it's like, whoa, like you're on a roller coaster and you're going through a kaleidoscope of dimensions. And then I can remember coming straight through, and I was met by this like an entity that had 6 snakes coming out of a head, and she just reached up to me, got a fish bone, a whole fish that was a skeleton, and like tried to put it in my mouth, and I just freaked out. And I was like, whoa, I can't handle this.
Yeah.
So then, woke up and like grounded myself a little bit, and then went back in, and I think just like you said, then after that, it was just like this just journey of sort of looking at yourself and just realizing, it's all right. Just don't worry. Don't beat yourself up.
Yeah.
You're too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
It's all right. You're loved. And I think that was the overriding factor, is just love. Just everything's just based on love.
Yeah. I had the same constant message, but it's important to mention that set and setting are so incredibly crucial to a safe and loving plant medicine experience. So many people out with of the fact that they are still drinking and doing drugs and not doing the dieta. They also they don't do this in a ceremonial setting with an expert guide. They people are unfortunately a little bit reckless at times. Likewise, there are some very unqualified people in South and Central America and probably elsewhere in the world calling themselves shaman, who goad people in to do one of, if not the most sacred healing ceremonies there is, with little to no experience or qualifications, and these are the sort of situations that you see on the internet, these nightmare stories.
Yeah, exactly. But I think with something like this, you've got to do your due diligence. You've got to go away and work it out. And
for sure. And we were very fortunate because our shaman was an incredible human being.
Yeah, I felt safe. I felt more than comfortable and safe, and it's, like you say, vitally important.
Yeah, I can't remember what I called him. A cosmic imp.
Cosmic imp, yeah, absolutely. He acted like one, didn't he?
Well, he did, but he was, well, the other chaps in the ceremony with us really held space for us very well, because I think you and I were, it's safe to say, pretty apprehensive.
Noobs,
terrified noobs.
Definite noobs.
Yeah, and I think there is an element of doing too much research, and of course, the more time you spend on the internet, the more nightmarish stories you'll find. So,
but no, it's good. I think you need that apprehension. It makes you take it seriously. But I think halfway through, then your defenses lower, don't they? And you just you open up to it. And I think that was the message the guys were saying. Just open.
Yeah,
surrender.
Yeah.
Surrender to it, and as soon as you sort of do that, that's when she does her magic.
Well, it's interesting because you said a few minutes ago, it's not working.
Yeah.
And this is like a common thing with psychedelics. Everyone always says the same thing. Oh, it's not working. And then right at that moment is usually when it works, isn't it? I was my own experience. I was already very deep into the typical landscape that you see when you do psychedelic work, and that is the sacred geometry, multicolored, absolutely stunning. You can't say three-dimensional because it doesn't do it justice.
Sure.
It?
No.
It is multi-dimensional all around you. You are immersed in
like high definition as well.
It's 4K.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, have they increased from 4K to another one?
I don't know.
Anyway, it's better than 4K. That's the point. And of course, all the while you've got your eyes closed. You're lying down in a sleeping bag or on a rug. And we were in front of a burning log fire, which was epic.
Yeah.
And we had some incredible music and isochronic tunes playing. Some of those songs have been sort of baked into, or those pieces of music have been baked into my psyche.
I was listening to one this morning.
Nice. Which one?
Devi Prayer.
Do you know what? Just skipping ahead, like
we'll come back to that.
6 months on. After we'd done it,
yeah.
After we'd done our first journey, I was sitting in a yoga class in Peckham.
And it came on.
And we're doing the Shavasana, and she just played the Devi Prayer.
Yeah,
literally
vibrate.
Oh, I'm back. It was incredible, that connection that we have with music, right?
Totally.
How it can just put you right back in that place.
Yeah.
Sadly, it didn't put me right back in that place because I needed some DMT to assist. But yeah, so... I was already lost in the music, and I was sort of riding this edgy, I'd say uncomfortable wave in this geometry, and essentially I was stuck in a loop. And I told myself the medicine hadn't taken effect; it hadn't started. Like, when's this going to start? But of course, meanwhile, I'm riding around on this mad torrid wave of geometry and multiple colours and just epic visuals, which, as we know, if you don't surrender and you don't relax into the experience, you could just spend your entire journey doing that, which I'm sure for some people could be quite beautiful and quite interesting, but also it's very distracting. And it was only when I finally realised, hang on a minute, I'm stuck in a loop here, and I just did, as you say, I let go and I surrendered, and then it was like whoosh.
There's a comment that always stuck with me, and it's like, she gives you what you need, not what you want.
Yeah, I think that was our friend Andreas who said that.
And that's so true, because the first night for me was just like a gentle intro. She was very gentle with me, and she sort of just give me a cuddle, just like knocked me down a little bit, just brought me back up, and just like primed me, just buttered me up for night two.
But
boom.
Buttered me up for night two. I love that.
What a night two was.
Yeah, I recall. I think in most ways I was immensely fortunate with my first few ayahuasca experiences, because as you know, I've done many journeys now, but the first one and the second one, in fact, I had no purging, so I was fortunate to not be vomiting, which is a standard part of the process, isn't it? It's not
absolutely
feared. It's you are essentially
what is welcomed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's your body removing memory. It's negative memory, negative
trauma as well. Yeah,
blocked energy. And as we've discussed in a couple of the episodes previously, the concept of somatics, we store our experience in our body. And so the ayahuasca experience is a wonderful experience to release some of that physically as much as you are doing metaphysically and of course mentally.
Yeah.
Anyway, so things I remember being welcomed by a feminine entity, which is what most people will recount. And she began to show me parts of my history. And so one of the things she did was she presented several experiences which were negative conflicts with people, where I'd given myself an opinion and locked that opinion in to my psyche. So on and so forth said this, it was their fault. Or so on and so forth did that. That was their responsibility. And suddenly I was presented with the same situation, but not even a 360 degree, because that's one dimensional, isn't it? A multi-dimensional perspective of these events.
Nice.
Which...
That's what it's all about.
Well, it's exactly what it's all about. But it also, I don't know if anybody listening to this will be able to quite grasp that. Let's use an example. You and I have a fallout. I have my perspective, you have your perspective, right? There are two dogs in the room, Ati and Muda, being graceful and quiet for a change on this podcast. But touch wood. But let's say that Ati and Muda's perspectives are now in the mix. Let's also say that the plants outside, their perspective, are in the mix. And anybody else and anything else with life or attached intrinsically to the unified field can remember and recall.
There's another metaphor in there where there's an image where, depending on how you shine the light on a 3D object, you either get a circle, a trapezium, or a rhomboid.
Yeah, it's all about perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, it was a huge and life-changing lesson for me, and it presented me with a number of dramas from my life, co-created dramas. Not only did I suddenly see the other person's perspective, I also saw the impermanence and futility of the whole thing, and therefore the overwhelming energy and expression that came from that was just forgiveness and love.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think for me it was, I think sort of my formative part of my life. I was pretty tenacious in my career, like a jack of all trades, wheeler dealer. And everything was ego. I could sort of flit into any social dynamic, a bit of a chameleon. But when you do that, you're obviously sacrificing yourself. You know, you pretend and you're acting all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought I thought I could bullshit anybody.
Yeah. Same here.
And that was and that's what she focused on. It was just like, you know, I see you, I see you for you.
Yeah.
It's like, just, you don't have to be like that.
And therefore inviting you to see yourself.
Exactly. And start to love myself, because there was obviously a reason I was doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think you're presented with the opportunity to see yourself without judgment. And that for me was an incredible lesson during my first ayahuasca experience as well. It was this, okay, this is who you are, this is who you've been. These are some of the things you've done. But it's okay.
Exactly, no judgment.
Yeah.
No judgment.
Just forgive yourself, forgive them until you can, or rather, if you don't forgive yourself, you can't move forward.
Well, you can't love yourself unless you forgive yourself. And I think that was the lesson I got. Yeah. Absolutely.
And of course, if you don't love yourself, how's anybody else expected to?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. Well, from there, because obviously it's, as we were discussing before we started recording this, the thing about these journeys is they are they are so incredibly intense. You receive lesson upon lesson upon lesson, information upon information upon information, stacked. The way I saw it was like this entity and other, I'm going to say, higher intelligences were handing me like books.
Yeah.
Stacked in both hands under my arms. Right?
Just frisbeeing them.
Yeah, literally at high speed.
At your third eye.
But the bizarre thing, and this is gonna sound trippy. Pardon the pun. The bizarre thing is, the moment the book was thrown at me, I'd read the book. I remembered I'd already read the book. And I was reading the other books and remembering that I'd read them all at the same time.
Cosmic thin slicing. Amazing.
Yeah, astoundingly so. And so many people will tell you this, folks, that if you, hopefully when you do your first ayahuasca journey, you'll often feel like you're in there for 1,000 years. That's not to be. That's not something to frighten you, though, is it? Because in actual fact, it's a real shame when you come out. It's such a beautiful,
also
awakening experience, isn't it?
Yeah, I think for me, it was. I don't know if you can remember, but I think we were just sort of slowing down as part of the journey. It was just nice and tranquil, and we're just listening to some beautiful music. I think Debbie Prayer was probably on, and I just started laughing.
Yeah.
And your brother just turned around and went, "Welcome." I was like, I get it now. I'm in the gang. Yeah.
I remember that.
And it was just this beautiful moment of just being so confused for the first part of my life, just going, I'm different. I know I'm different. I don't fit in. It just doesn't feel right. There must be more to this. And having so many questions and not quite knowing, just being confused, permanently confused. And then at that split moment, it just all made sense. And it was just this beautiful release for me. I was just like, I get it now.
Well,
and just how we're all connected, and just the beauty, the love and beauty behind it.
I remember we all exploded into
it was a beautiful moment.
The other two were, especially the Cosmic Imp was also welcoming us.
Bienvenue. Welcome.
It was truly, it was the moment, I think, where, and this is, you can believe this or not, it's up to you, but what happened during that ceremony was that, and we all spoke about this the following day, we were all lying down with our eyes closed, deep in the journey, and we were all also together in another space, communicating, weren't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we recounted the conversations we were having. Yeah. Now, that's what they call telepathy back at the ranch. And so when he said welcome, they were very aware of what you were seeing. And of what I was seeing. Yeah, because they were also seeing it, which is a truly profound, well, that's unity consciousness, isn't it? Or a small, tiny slither of it, at least.
Yeah, it was just, it's lovely talking about this, because I was saying to you earlier that I sort of started thinking about it yesterday. And just a really beautiful afternoon, sort of reflecting and just really going back and remembering what was our rebirth. Right?
It was our rebirth. It was our rebirth day.
Yeah, and just, the deep connection, obviously, me and you have had from it as well.
Yeah.
Just you can't put it into words.
Well, I'm trying to for a podcast.
I know. There lies the rub.
So, of course, anybody listening, if you have significant experience working with plant medicine, you've got anything to add to this, please do send us a message. You can email us, or you can record a message, which we'll gladly play on the show, because the topic is not something that merely deserves a 45-minute to an hour podcast. It's something, frankly, that we will return to time and time again, because certainly from my perspective, there were two things that really changed the way I live and my perspective on living and dying. And of course, that's the point of this podcast.
Sure.
One was meditation. No, actually three things. One was quitting alcohol and drugs, going sober. And I know some of you might think, hang on a minute, ayahuasca's a drug. No, it's not. It's a medicine. It's a natural plant medicine, in my opinion, of course.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I respect anybody's truth, whatever you think about it. But of course, remember that there's a narrative that's played into our minds by the media and by government when it comes to talking about psychedelics. Or at least that's been the case since the 60s and 70s, where suddenly there was a huge freedom movement and everyone suddenly said, hang on a minute.
Conscious started rising. Oh, we don't like that.
We don't like that, because they'll stop paying tax, won't they? And they'll stop coming to their shitty jobs.
Getting in debt.
Exactly. But staying on the hamster wheel, which is exactly where we need them. Otherwise, we can't control them. It's safe to say, actually, in recent years, things are changing, right? Consciousness is rising. Nobody can stop it. The veil is thinning. And suddenly, an awful lot more of us are working with these medicines, and also with Qigong, with Tai Chi, with breath work, with yoga, with meditation. Excuse me. We are, ironically, adopting ancient healing methodologies.
I don't know if you can remember when coming towards the end of the journey, I was basically started, like, my body was convulsing, which now I sort of realised that was trapped energy, trapped trauma that I'd sort of kept low down, and that it was just releasing. So it's everything, it was like purging out of me. But then I started doing like hand movements, some like really intricate mudras, and I'd never done yoga before.
Yeah.
Never stretched, never done yoga, never even looked at what a mudra was. No. But it knew me. Yeah. And it's like ironic that, this technology's been going for like thousands and thousands of years. And I think it was you or your brother just turned around and said, well, you don't know yoga, but yoga knows you.
Yeah. So
I was like, wow.
That's right, because we were both doing it. So you and I were, and they were just watching us with love, regarding us as we were suddenly stretching our bodies. We were doing yoga, we were doing mudras, lots of different types, quite complex mudras as well. I was doing this kind of weird yantra type mudra.
5D one, yeah.
And and we said, what? Then next day, wasn't it? What was that all about? I don't even know yoga.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you may not know yoga, but yoga knows you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, how did we? And that's an interesting question, isn't it? And that brings me back to the point about remembering. During that whole experience, as I was receiving this information, cosmic information about love, about the universe, about our purpose, about Earth School, about our bodies, about the Earth Rover, as I call it, about unity consciousness, all of these things that I had no knowledge about. I was suddenly receiving this information and laughing and crying at the same time, saying, I already know this. And these higher intelligences are saying, yes, you do. You do know all of this. You know, of course you know all of this. It was kind of welcome back. That whole experience was a welcome back.
It's like the film Hook. Do you know when he forgets who he is and then he remembers towards the end of the film?
Peter Pan.
Yeah, Peter Pan, yeah.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing.
I wonder if who wrote Hook? Who wrote Peter Pan? I should know this.
Lewis Carroll.
Right. I wonder if Lewis Carroll did.
Probably. Well,
uh,
this is the other
psychedelics.
Avatar. Whoever made Avatar absolutely categorically has done ayahuasca.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind. Because we were there.
It was Cameron that wrote it, though, wasn't it? So I don't know if he wrote and directed it.
Shout out to James Cameron.
Yeah, big up, big up.
What was the world called?
Oh, the planet in the movie, I can't remember.
Awa. I was seeing Awa.
Yeah, well, the tree.
Yeah, and the fluorescent
and the
vegetation.
mycelial networks.
Yeah.
The whole point of Avatar is
yeah.
that nature is completely connected, and of course, the indigenous people on that planet are aware of that on a whole other level, which we, sadly, as a species, have completely and utterly, depressingly forgotten.
That was actually coming back to it. That was the message I got from Mother. It's like, you've got to help heal the world, and and live wholesomely. I think since that session, I stopped drinking alcohol and eating meat.
Yeah,
because of that.
Yeah.
And just living a lot more sort of sustainable life and peace-loving life.
Yeah.
And love, everything was just based around love. Love is the highest frequency in the universe.
Yeah, and there's no doubt about it. When you've finished a wonderful ayahuasca journey, everybody is vibrating high.
Yeah.
There's just so much love in the space. One of the many messages I received that day that night rather, was about my body. And for anyone who knows me or anyone who's listened to a few of these episodes, as you know, I was an alcoholic and a cocaine addict for many years. And that sort of behaviour brings with it an awful lot of baggage, because of course there is cause and effect. So I was constantly being seriously injured, or seriously injuring myself, or seriously injuring others back in the day when I was a young'un. So I went into that with a torn meniscus in my knee, and I'd just had my second eye surgery. No, my first eye surgery, hadn't I? I think, yeah, I'd had my lens removed from my eyeball, because I was blind.
That's it. Because I think we were sort of talking as well. We could see some like bright lights working on your eye. I could see that.
Yeah, so could I.
Ethereal surgery.
That's what they call it, ethereal surgery. Yeah. And so I was receiving this energetic work to my eye and to my knee and to my shoulder at the same time. And essentially the message was, dude, you got to start taking care of the Earth rover.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not going to be around.
More Earth rover.
You're not going to be around for many more of these incredible journeys. So, yeah, wowzers, trousers. That was an unforgettable experience.
It was, and just to maybe finish on that, the second day, the second journey was the work.
Yeah.
And
the real deep dive.
Boy, wow, I purged a lot.
You did.
But it was needed.
Yeah.
It was 40 years of trauma.
Yeah, and misbehaviour.
Yeah, misbehaviour, trauma, just deep-rooted into my lower centres that just all came out in one night.
Oh my God, it did. I remember listening to it for the majority of 6 hours.
Yeah. But what an amazing feeling afterwards.
Yeah.
How good was the meal?
Oh, wow.
The best meal I've ever had in my life.
So we just for our listeners, we did ayahuasca all night, and then we slept for maybe 2 or 3 hours, and then as the sun came up, we then immediately did a wachuma ceremony, and that's after this epic experience of the ayahuasca. It's the yin and yang, isn't it? And
totally.
It's a perfect complementary journey, which then powers you back up.
Mm-hmm.
So we were all outside, stepping in the mud, just grounding, weren't we?
Just being with nature, yeah.
Totally and utterly connected with nature in a way that I can't possibly explain on a podcast, or even if you were sitting here listening to us chatting. Needless to say, you are nature in that experience. Not one with nature. You are utterly and entirely connected to it.
You can see the energy. You can see its aura.
Yeah.
You can see the aura of every living
all the
organism.
plants, the grass, the leaves.
That for me was the most
animals.
beautiful thing.
It's absolutely incredible. And so after that, I think we had a short rest after that. No, actually we had a cleanse, didn't we? We all jumped in the pool as the sun came up, and then we ultimately all had a shower. And then we went for this meal. My God. Food never tasted so great. Now, it has to be said, in this Bond Villa hotel, the food was pretty awesome anyway.
Yeah.
They had their own permaculture farm, didn't they?
Yeah, it was just interesting to watch the chefs go and pick their organic vegetation on this
our meal.
medieval irrigated, permaculture plot.
Yeah,
it was stunning.
Terraces as well, didn't they? Yeah, the best food we'd ever had. So that was our first ayahuasca experience, wasn't it? And we've done a few more together since, and we shall most certainly do many more in the future, my friend.
Yeah, well, I think we were talking about this. I think it's been a while since I've done, and I feel the Jumanji drums starting to beat a wee bit, because invariably you do the whole point of Earth School is you forget yourself to remember yourself, right? I'm just starting to forget a little bit.
It's time to crack the veil open again.
I need a cuddle and a kick in from the mother.
Well, I'm game on for that. So once we've made plans to leave the country and do it in Central or South America, that's exactly what we'll be doing. But on the subject of Central and South America, of course, I then went on to do an incredible journey in Peru and the Amazon. When was this? I think it was the year after, wasn't it? Oh, 6 months.
About 6 months after, I remember it.
Yeah, and I went to the Sacred Valley in Peru, and I'd already met this wonderful shaman brother of ours called Andres, and so has Richie. He's met him too. Excuse me. Chilean chap.
Beautiful musician,
beautiful man, just a huge bear of
huge energy,
of love and laughter,
huge energy,
and everyone gravitates to Andreas because he's a wizard, he's a shaman.
Yeah,
and so I went to a retreat with him and a crew, a wonderful another family that I made. And we spent, I think it was 10 days working with the medicines, with ayahuasca, washuma, rapé, cambo medicine, which is a very strong physical and psychic cleanser. Incredible for your immune system. It's kind of it's the most hardcore liver flush you can do. And that particular trip, we were fortunate because he'd brought his own teacher, Page Peno, or one of his teachers. And Page Peno had come from the Amazon. So this is a chap, and he came with two other chaps.
So that's who taught Andres?
Yeah, one of his teachers, yeah. And so these guys came from the Brazilian Amazon, from the Noke Kuin tribe, also known as the Catuquina. And these guys have been in that part of the world forever. They don't speak English, they speak Portuguese in their own tribal dialect. Fortunately, Andreas speaks enough Portuguese to be able to translate them. And so we had the most incredible and powerful shamanic experience with three of these guys. There was Peno Munja, who's the cacique now, he's the leader of the village, and Tama. And these guys we were all in a circle in a geodesic dome, laid around in a circle, all doing the medicine. And these guys are all planted around, and they're all squatting, and they're all singing Icaros, and whistling, and obviously Andres is
beating the leaves.
Yeah, all of that.
Amazing.
And so after we'd finished the retreat, we went. Well, Andres said, "Hey, I got to take these guys down to back to Brazil. You want to come?" I'm like, "What? Yeah. What does that entail? 2 days in the car? Yeah. Okay. Why not? I'm game." And so we all of us piled into a van to take us to the border of Peru and Brazil, and then we had to, obviously it's back and beyond border control there. So, but then I had to get a yellow fever shot, so I wasn't allowed into Brazil. And then we hopped into a couple of taxis, got to the nearest city, hired a car, and then just this road trip lasted for I think it was 2 days. Epic road trip with these three little Noke Kuin guys and this giant Chilean shaman. Listened to music, talking all the whole way along, and then we eventually got to the village and we hung out with the village. In the village for a week, and we did plant medicine with the entire village.
Even the kids?
Even the kids. So that's,
Brilliant.
I would say there were, I don't know, maybe 50, maybe 50, 60 people. So when they do the ayahuasca, the entire village comes out, and the maloca's a huge circular, open-sided, straw-roofed sort of meeting place. And so everyone strings their hammocks all the way around it. It's this incredible network of hammocks.
Yeah.
And then all the kids are all lying on the floor.
How many in the village?
I think it was probably about 50 or 60. I might be wrong. It might have been more.
Interesting.
But the villages are all along the road. You know, there are different. They're all still the Noke Kuin tribe, but there are little villages within them.
Right.
And they just go on for miles and miles. So, yeah, I was very fortunate to do ayahuasca with the whole village, and there's small children doing their little journeys next to me. And it's an incredible energy to be around, and they also sing.
What, collectively?
Yeah. So the whole village sings. Actually, in fact, I've got a recording of that. One sec. Let's see if I can play that.
What ayahuasca has given me is the most profound, life-changing gift.
Doesn't sound like you.
Transformation.
Waking up from the matrix to the red pill, seeing everything. I was still with the medicine then, so there's a bit of a ramble. But I was just so taken by the energy that I wanted to capture it.
Yeah, that didn't sound like you.
No,
like you were somebody else. But
I was still
that music, the hairs on my arms.
Man.
Imagine what it was like when you were there.
and they're dancing as well.
Yeah,
So there's all the men, all the women,
working with the energy as well.
yeah, like a wave. They're all dancing and playing together.
Beautiful.
It was absolutely profound. But when people ask me about my ayahuasca experience, it's always a difficult thing to talk about with certain people.
It's kind of cliche, isn't it? Oh yeah, I went on my gap year and did ayahuasca.
Yeah, but there's a gap. But I was having a midlife crisis gap year, same as you. It's just I was a bit older.
I don't know.
But I hasten to add, it's got nothing to do with the midlife crisis. It's actually one of the most profound things, and actually, the most profound thing I've ever done in my life.
Changed my life infinitely for the better.
Unequivocally, same here. Which is, I think, what I was trying to ramble on in that recording. But then there are those brothers and sisters out there who are just completely closed off to the idea, aren't they? Aren't there?
At time, everyone's journey is different, right?
Yeah.
And I think collectively, like we sort of touched on at the beginning, within the last 5 years, you think about how it's slowly sort of creeping into mainstream. It's like marijuana's legal.
Yep.
3 years ago, 40 years in prison for dealing it, but now it's you can legally sell it. Times are changing.
Same with psychedelics. So Johns Hopkins started to do a lot of research a few years back. In fact, this was documented in, what's that documentary called? It's not Magic Mushrooms. Fantastic Fungi.
Yeah. Oh.
So we were talking about this with our
Paul Stemmert.
Yeah. We were talking about this with our first guest, Liam Farquhar, who's a psychedelic guide, a legal psychedelic guide. That's an interesting point right there, isn't it? There are now legally certified psychedelic guides who are licensed to work with people with PTSD, with trauma, with depression, with addiction, who are absolutely helping people overcome these issues with the use of psychedelics.
I just think it's like that. Obviously, the lessons you get taught by the ayahuasca is that we're intrinsically intertwined. There's so much. We're so symbiotic. We're all living creatures, and if there is a dis-ease at a molecular level in your body, there's a remedy out there to cure it.
Yeah,
and it's just sad that we're run by, let's say, corporations that have only got one thing on their mind. They want to earn money. They want to synthesize it.
Yeah.
So
that's the only way they can make money. And sadly, that's exactly what's happening now with the psychedelic market. And I hate to use those two words together, but finally, psychedelics are being granted or decriminalized by governments. And of course, that's hand in hand with pharmaceutical firms who are finally ready to synthesize these medicines.
Homogenized and exactly.
Yeah,
probably.
Well, it is sad. I suppose the optimist in me thinks, well, at least people are now able to get access to psychedelic therapy and to treat PTSD or depression or addiction. I would simply say it's not, for me anyway, a psychedelic journey is not just about popping something into your mouth and then going for a ride. It's the absolute opposite to that. A really transformative, wholesome experience is that which we've discussed in brief.
It just shows you what to do, but you have to do the work.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, isn't it?
Absolutely. And when you're in the ceremonial experience, you are being helped. You are being guided by people who know exactly what this medicine can do. Whether you believe it or not, this medicine is capable of doing things that we only dream of.
I think that was the other big lesson. She sort of gave tools to heal yourself, but then to help others. And I think it's all about sort of service to others as well. So if you can, it's like from ayahuasca, I've gone on a beautiful journey of like learning Reiki, breathworks, yoga, and then into sort of different types of yoga as well. And it's all an evolution of my mind, body and spirit. And I think, that has an inspiration. It's like, my kids watch that and they've started to pick up on doing yoga moves, So it's, you kind of just inspire, and it's the ripple effect, right?
Yeah, well, you're breaking the cycle. And
that's, I genuinely think that the message she's just trying to get this information out to as many people, because I genuinely think, we are coming to a tipping point. And it's like, right, okay, we kind of need to just speed consciousness up a wee bit. I remain really hopeful. I subscribe to a beautiful world where we're all gravitating to. Because like we sort of touched on, people are waking up and people are becoming more conscious. And those that don't will just probably end up in their own little cities and
I think so.
be controlled.
I think we'll wind up gravitating toward one or the other. And in simple terms, it really is about gravitating to service to self or service to others. And there's no judgment either way from my perspective. I must say twice on every episode, I respect everyone's truth. Well, I do. Even if it's not my truth, I respect that everyone should be able to make their own decisions.
Exactly, and that's the other lesson, isn't it? Non-judgment.
Absolutely.
We're all on different journeys. There's no bad, there's no good.
Yeah, and that was very much a lesson from the ayahuasca.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I agree with you. For me, taking the medicine was the beginning of a journey that I'm still on. But it's another beautiful and I would say far more enriching chapter or series of chapters as we go on, because it's probably 2 years since we did ayahuasca.
God, yeah, lots happened in 2 years, eh?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, but actually, with all of the madness in the world, from my perspective anyway, the work that we did and then I continue to do has certainly enabled me to stay more grounded, to have a practice to return to, to turn to my meditation, to breath work, to yoga, now to qigong. These are all things that I would never have thought I was going to do. If you and I popped out of a time machine like Bill and Ted in front of Martin and Rich 5 years ago and said, "Hey, dudes,"
I would have laughed your head off. If you just said I'd been living in Bali six years ago, I'd be like, "Get out of town."
Me too, like completely.
You'd have 3 kids and living in Bali. Yeah, no.
And living a wonderfully enriching life.
Crazy.
Free, sovereign free.
Created it though.
You absolutely created it, as did I. So, yeah. Funny thing, I was talking to the the guys from the tribe and to Andreas about the medicine, because you were talking about service to others there and how it led you to want to do more things for other people. Well, these guys feel that it is their mission now on this earth, in this time and this place, to spread the word of the medicine, to spread the love that comes with the medicine to the world, or through the world. And I asked the guys, what did they think would happen if the whole world did an ayahuasca journey? And I have this recording, I'll play it to you.
E pra gente, como hoje nós estamos fazendo, trabalhar, vamos trabalhar de união, vamos trabalhar de amor, vamos trabalhar de carinho, vamos trabalhar de respeito, né? Então isso é medicina conectada com todo o planeta, e nós estamos com todo conectado no nosso planeta. Cada de coração de nós está ligado com o planeta, está ligado com a força da floresta. Então isso envolve essas coisas.
So, yeah. So beautiful what Paje say. Paje say that if this happen about the people, we can heal the planet. We can heal the planet altogether, because the medicine will give us the vision about the connection with the elements and everything, you know. So the medicine, una payelanza or a ceremony, an ayahuasca ceremony, you know, this means that all the people will be connected again, you know, with the roots of this planet, you know.
Yeah.
Felt the power in that.
Well, I believe he's right. And I believe that was Page Peno speaking in Portuguese. Thanks for bearing with us on that one. And Andreas translating. But I genuinely believe if we could get the whole planet, and we've just proven that we can get the whole planet to do something at the same time.
Yeah, too easily.
Sadly so. But if we can get the whole planet to do an ayahuasca journey at the same time, what?
Could you imagine?
Well, it would be healing for everyone in unison, raised frequency for everyone in unison, observation of self-harm, co-created drama. It would be self-forgiveness and forgiveness of others. It would just be love, wouldn't it?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's like Graham Hancock said, you know, if you can imagine every world leader, you know, one of the stipulations to become a president or a prime minister is you have to do 10 ayahuasca ceremonies.
I think Mr. Hancock is absolutely spot on.
Bang on there.
Well, we're at it. They should all undergo
Yeah.
some serious psychological profiling.
Kind of in a perfect world if it wasn't run by.
Yeah, but then if the world was perfect, we would have nothing to learn, would we?
Yeah.
There would be no suffering. And without suffering, we can't learn these lessons. So, well, I think we're probably done today, aren't we?
Getting there. I'm getting a bit of a sweat on, Paul.
Oh, I'm sorry about the lack of AC. the air conditioning.
It's like 34 degrees in this country.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the AC gets picked up by the microphone, so
I will let you off.
it's there's not a lot we can do about it. But thank you, Richard. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for inviting me on and being part of this wonderful journey that you're creating.
Thank you, bro. I hope the audience is enjoying it as well. Actually, on that note, whilst we do get the odd tidbit of feedback, this is probably the first time I'm ever going to ask you, you listeners, you wonderful folks at home, checking this out in the gym or driving your car or sitting at home with a cup of tea or coffee, whatever. Do us a huge favour, and if you're enjoying this podcast, please go and review it. Please like it, please follow it, subscribe to it, share it, and more importantly, bear in mind, this is just getting made with love. There's no money behind it. There's no marketing machine behind it. There's no production machine behind it. So this can only really take off, assuming it's doing well, if you tell other people about it. And I you know, as you may or may not know, I've been a marketer for over 25 years, but I have this lofty ambition that this podcast might actually do well just based on word of mouth. People actually telling other people, hey, you know what, I heard that podcast and something resonated and you might find this interesting, yada, yada. I don't know. That's just me being an optimist. But if you're enjoying How to Die Happy, please, pretty please, with a cherry on top, do review it and do tell some people about it. Thanks for listening to Richard and I have a little trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
I think should we go and get a coconut?
Let's do it.
Ojane,